Hello, welcome to New Bill City and today's Noob Tip of the Day. All about how do I reduce my industry DLC traffic. I see this come up quite often on Reddit. People post their industries and they're struggling with the traffic. Often see they're using 6-lane, 1-way roads and all kinds of elaborate schemes to kind of get their traffic to flow a little bit better. And you really don't need to do that. In this city here, I built all of the industry's DLC basically on 2-lane dirt and concrete roads, a little bit of 2-lane highway roads as well, just to kind of get them to moving. But it really all comes down to understanding the concept of staggering or desynchronizing your industry. So if you're like me, and probably most people who build a lot of these kind of like bigger projects, you tend to pause the game first, right? Just because you're kind of like setting up the layout, you know, getting your, like I said, your road layout. You want to place all your assets where you want them to be, and then you're going to go ahead and run it and kind of see how things kind of come to life, right? The problem with that is you set everything becomes synchronized. And what's going to happen at first is your extractors, of course, are going to start extracting material. They're going to start, you know, like the crops here are going to start making crops. The storage units, if they're set to balance, they're going to call for imports because they're set. Balance means they're supposed to operate between 40 and 60, and they're going to be at 0 because you just put them down and they're empty. So they're going to call outside towns and say, hey, I need to like start filling this thing up. The mayor said I need to be at 40 to 60, and I'm at 0. So these guys are all going to start importing goods. These guys here are going to be at 0, of course, because you just place them down. So they're going to also call for material. They need crops to produce animal products, right? And your storage units, because you just put those down and turn on the simulation, they don't have any. So what these guys are going to do is they're going to start importing as well. So these will get all the symbols, you know, not enough resource. So what's going to happen initially is you're going to have a ton, I mean, depending on how many things you put down, ton of trucks come to your city from the outside town. It's going to clog up your highways, clog up all your main roads coming in here. Every processor is going to ask for import. Every storage unit will probably ask for at least 10 to 15 trucks will come, depending on if it's a large versus the medium and the small, all that stuff. So you could have 10 to 20 trucks coming into each one of these things. So you can see the numbers start to add up, right? Like I said, they're all synchronized. And what's going to happen here too is in the meantime, I've let this run to get this to a point. They're going to all release trucks at the same time. So you really need to understand, like when you're trying to kind of like diagnose really anything in the DLC, you need to understand how to read some of these numbers. And we're going to, this is a extractor. This is the small crop field. If you look underneath the pie chart here, these all will all say 73 of 222, 77, 73. Because I just went ahead and destroyed all mine for, you know, for the video and put new ones down just so you can see the mayhem that's about to appear. Once these things hit about 80, this depends on the buffs you have and stuff. You how many, you know, barracks or how many maintenance buildings, all that stuff. How that affects, you know, what level you're at. All that stuff's going to affect these numbers. But when you're around 80, this thing's going to release a truck in the world. And that truck can go anywhere. It could go to a processor that may need it. If they line up, if this guy needs stuff and this guy has it, they'll send it. It will most likely, probably 9 times out of 10, will go to your storage units. It could maybe go to your generic industry if maybe something in here that's making goods needs that raw material to do that. It could, in particular crops, could go to the unique factories because some unique factories require crops, or it could go to export if it has no place else to go because maybe your storage is full. Okay, so that's how you read these guys. These guys, you have crops on the left, a 110 of 181. As this thing churns away and produces more and more animal products, it eats away its crops, right? Because that's the crops here is like what's on at this facility. Once it hits about 80, he makes a phone call. Hey, city, hey, I need more crops because I'm trying to make animal products. What's most likely going to happen is if your DLC is running pretty well, they'll say, hey, the storage unit will have trucks. If it has trucks and it has some crops available, it'll say, yeah, I'll bring you some stuff. And then he'll go ahead and deliver crops here. And as it goes and makes crops, if you see under where it says animal products, where it says 58 161, once that hits about 80, he'll release animal products into the world. And then that animal products can go to, most likely, will go to your warehouses. You know, depending on how many you have. I have one set in this city. So it'll go to the warehouse, or, you know, it could go to a unique factory if the timing kind of lines up. Most likely, probably not, but it may. Like I said, if the timing lines up, because some things use animal products, it could maybe go to your generic industry if they need animal products to, make generic goods, or it could be exported if really it has nowhere else to go. Okay, so that's how you read these numbers. Why is that important? Because like I said, when you set these down and the game's paused and you first build out your DLC, these are all lined up. So he'll call for stuff at the same time, or they'll all release stuff at the same time. We're going to go here and see it here. These guys will all release stuff at the same time. Let's go ahead and watch it do it. About 77. Here we go. You see all the trucks starting to come out? All the trucks. So you see I got all these trucks here. And they're all confused. Like, why is so many people on the road? Where am I going to go? And they're going to go and drop stuff off at the storage. Now, and of course, if your storage was already struggling, because maybe you didn't have enough storage for the amount of extractors you put down, so maybe this guy's already at 70%, or maybe just as all these are hitting, the imported trucks are coming in to knock out, fill this thing up, could cause wild fluctuations in your storage. Well, this guy looks like he's getting pummeled here. And it'll climb. And it could cause this guy to go into export mode. So you don't want this. You can see how this guy's starting to fill up, right? And we don't want him to go ahead and say, okay, I have too much stuff. Let me send out a truck like he just probably did here. He's delivering somewhere else. Good. Thank God. We'll see if he starts importing or exporting. Like I said, you can see he's starting to fill this guy up and up. And that was just one round, right? That came through. And all your trucks are going back and they're clogging up all your roads. And I think I have about 20 small crops, but who knows how many you put down. If you put down 30, 50 large crops or whatever it may be. And now they're releasing all these trucks into the world, right? And of course, the same thing will happen here. If these are all lined up, they'll release, if I have 20 of these things, they'll release 20 trucks all at once of animal products, and they'll send them all to the warehouse. And then, of course, they'll drive all on the road and get crammed up. And then you can imagine if you multiply this by 4, because maybe your oil industry synced up. Maybe you built the whole thing at one time, or maybe you just built one at a time. But maybe this is synced up with itself, and then this is synced up. But they're not necessarily synced up between each other. But you just have these constant flow of like all trucks, no trucks, all trucks, no trucks, right, on your roads here. And it's going to cause, like I said, quite a bit of issues, as well as it can mess up your storage, because now all these things are starting to fill these guys up all at once, and then your storage units are going to experience kind of like it's like a feast or famine. They're going to get like all the crops, and then they're going to get these guys will call in and then deplete them down, and then these guys will shoot out again and fill them all back up. Instead, what you would really want to do is stagger these things, or set them or offset them. To do that, you just really need to look at your assets to see where they are. So we'll go ahead and just do a couple just so you can kind of see it. Go in here and just start turning them off. And then turn one on. Let the game run. And let them get a little bit of space. You see where it says, 30? Let it get to 35, right? We'll turn that one off. Pause the game. We'll turn this one on. Let that run. And let this one get to 35. Let that run. And just go through and just look at all your stuff. And this one's at 35. All right, pause it and maybe run this one. Let that run and then let it go. Just let them go until they get, depending on how many you have. And in an ideal world, right? So if you had 2 and it releases the truck at 80, right? You would want one at 40 and one at 0. And they would be completely out of sync, right? But as of course you add more, it gets harder to get in and out of sync. If you had 10, and like I said, it goes to 80, say divide by 10 is 8. So you'd have them 8 units apart, 8 tons apart, 8 barrels units apart, right? If you could be perfect, and I wouldn't stress over it that much. And like I said, as you add more, of course, some are going to sync up, and then some will be out of sync naturally because of this random happens chance, right? But the idea is you want to try and do your best to get these things out of sync. That way you have a nice steady flow of trucks. Just like one will send out a truck, it'll drive to the storage unit, it'll come back, and as it's like delivering stuff, the next one sends out a storage, sends out a truck, it goes to the storage room, the other one's coming back, And if you had 20 like this, maybe you had like 3 or 4 trucks on the road, you know, at one time instead of all 20, right? And now you've cut your number of trucks down by 75% or so, you know, 80%, 60%. And now the traffic's good. Same thing here. The storage will be a lot happier because it'll be, as it's getting trucks, it'll be sending trucks because these things will be all out of sync as well. Once again, turn these off. Make sure, you know, on the animal product side, just like this one is pretty, this one says 11, you know, this one says 30, 27, 44, 19, 5, you see it 76, right? So you kind of get the picture. And that kind of naturally means that they'll be kind of out of sync on the crop side as well. So, you know, as they need stuff, they'll be calling the storage unit. It'll be like one phone call kind of coming in steady. Hey, storage unit, I need stuff. And they'll be like, okay, I got stuff. I'll just send one truck. They'll come back, and I'll send another truck. It'll come back, you know, and so forth. And these guys will only have like, you know, maybe at most one will have like 5 or 6 trucks at use, and one will be, the other 2 will be at 0 instead of them all being used up because they're just getting all this stuff. Then they're trying to empty themselves out, and then they don't have nothing, so maybe they start importing again, and just gets all out of balance, right? So I said, just stagger your stuff, turn it all off. You know, if you just start your game, the easiest way to do it, put everything down, turn everything off, but like one extractor, and keep one storage unit on. Let it run. Turn off all your processors. Let it run till this thing gets 50. Once this thing gets 50, turn on a processor and let that be basically 1-to-1 ratio. One small crop to one small pasture, one, you know, large crop to one large pasture, you know, that kind of ratio, and then turn another one on. You know, once this guy gets to, you know, we'll say 10 or something like that, turn the next one on and kind of keep them 10 or 20 units apart, and just do your best, like I said, and just keep turning them on one at a time, you know, and then, like, you know, as this storage unit gets, maybe once you get like 2 or 3 on, and this storage unit's been kind of running real nice, and you got 2 or 3 on into this, turn on your next storage unit, let it, he'll import some, and then they'll also start filling up and turn on 1 or 2 more crops, let that fill up, turn on 2 more processors. You see, they kind of gradually build it up, and then everything will be desynchronized, everything will be running nice and smooth, and you'll be able to build a city where you have, you know, tons of money, things are running just nice, and the traffic's flowing real well. Well, I hope this video helped. I hope it gives you an idea on how to reduce the industry traffic that you have in your city, especially with the Industries DLC. And if you found it helpful, of course, subscribe, leave a like, put a comment down below. Hey, I do this in my city and it really works well, or I never even thought to do that, and I do have terrible traffic, and thank you for helping me. I'm also on Twitch. Just take my YouTube name, Noob Build City, smash it all together. Come find me, say hi, and we can continue the conversation or talk about other stuff. Also, there's a link down in the description below. I appreciate you watching the video. Like I said, I hope it helps. I wish you the best in whatever you do after this. And as always, happy building.